Exercise 2.12, table filling.
Hi, Joel. We've only got 2 hours to send the newspaper to the printers. Have you finished the story yet? The student pub survey is the lead story, so if it's not ready, I might have to murder you.
Christine, I told you it'd be ready yesterday, and sure enough, I've just finished it. I had to do some last-minute research.
You mean you got drunk last night at Dirty Dick's? Typical man.
Well, I had a couple at Molly O'Holly's too, and I'm nothing if not thorough. You've got to admire my scientific approach.
Anyway, I'm glad you finished it. Well done. What were the results?
Bit of a surprise, actually, although I did predict that male arts students mostly drink bitter at the Rutland, and that's true, according to the survey.
Another good reason not to frequent that particular pub, then. What about the guys who study science? Do most of them go to the Rutland, too?
I thought they would, but even a man with his finger on the pulse of university culture can be forgiven for the occasional error. They're bigger lager drinkers in the main, and their favourite haunt is the Temperance.
Imagine a date with a physics major drinking lager in the smokiest pub in the world, the Temperance. No wonder most of them are single.
Well, the women of academia don't seem to display any great taste in their selection of watering hole either. What do you think female arts students said their favourite drink was? Gin and tonic? Wine?
Yeah, red wine's what I normally have.
Well, Sherlock, closer investigation has revealed that the tipple in question is Russian in origin, with a hefty kick, and it's called vodka. What's more, they like drinking it in an Irish establishment.
Dirty Dick's? Oh, my goodness.
Molly O'Holly's is the place.
Even worse. It's got the worst interior decor I've ever seen. Maybe drinking the vodka makes it look good.
Now to the female students. The ladies of the laboratories are a bit more genteel. Gin and tonic at the Blue Anchor for them.
The Blue Anchor's only 100 metres from the science building, so that makes sense. And the G&T is pretty strong there. The barmen are good-looking too.
Are you suggesting that the guys who study science are a bit geeky and might be a touch on the ugly side?
You do engineering. You tell me.
Moving on quickly, the postgrads we spoke to were almost unanimous in their choice.
Must be the old-age pensioners' favourite on Smithson's Road.
Hey, the 56 isn't bad, and it's much cheaper than most other places.
Actually, the 56 is a pretty cool place for a couple of drinks, and they have a great bar. I bet the men drink whiskey.
That's what you'd think. In fact, most of the postgraduate male students drive to university, so they generally drink orange juice. We only spoke to 3 postgraduate students who aren't men, and they all live locally, and they're all Scottish. They drink whiskey.
So the postgrad men sit there in the 56 with an OJ while their female colleagues enjoy a couple of shots of whiskey? Nice. Maybe I'll enrol in a postgraduate course. At least I'll avoid all the drunken lads.
Exercise 2.13, table filling.
Financial news now, and a quick look at one of the big players on the stock market, Megacorp, the media and electrical appliance giant. Not much was happening with Megacorp shares around Christmas, when they were priced around $3.50, but news of the potential resignation of Jan Eubank, their hugely successful first female CEO, rocked confidence on the financial markets. The shares ended the year on just $1.38, and the average price for December was at exactly $1 more than the minimum price, with 3.6 million shares traded in that month. January saw a positive avalanche of trading, and after the previous month's mean figure of 2.38, shares started selling like hotcakes, and almost 20 million shares were bought and sold. If another 500,000 had changed hands on 31st January, it would have been 20 million in that 1 month. But by then, the CEO had finally confirmed that she would be staying, and a couple of board members resigned shortly afterwards. The average share price for January was 2.16. All things considered, it was a respectable figure, just 0.22 lower than the December average. Whilst their rival Trend Media Incorporated held its February share price at an average of $3.50, Megacorp achieved the comeback of the year so far, ending with a February average of 3.51, and that difference between the two companies may be only 1 cent, but it's a huge psychological boost to Megacorp, especially after investors fought tooth and nail to buy a total of 10.2 million of its shares in February. 10.2 million being just 0.1 short of a February record. Who knows what ups and downs March will bring? Back to the studio.
Exercise 2.14. Table filling.
Hey, Nigel, have you seen this article about those paintings?
The 5 greatest modern paintings in the world? Are you thinking of going to see them all?
Well, if you're thinking of buying me a round-the-world ticket, taking in Germany, China, Australia, America and the UK, then yes, I will.
Oh yeah, I was just popping down to the travel agents to pick it up. You should be so lucky. Still, it would be fun to see them all. I really like Pistachio's work, and Afternoon Tea really is a classic painting. We could go to see it, you know. It's only down the road in London.
I'll tell you what, if you can guess the year it was painted, I'll give you the train ticket to London.
Cool. End of the 19th century. 1899?
Oh, so close. 2 years out.
1901?
Wrong again. Good guess, though. It was 100 years before the Van Gogh painting, which I hate. It's just a drawing of a cigarette.
Well, what do you expect? It is called Cigarette.
Anyway, if you get yourself over to Beijing, you can see it.
Shanghai, actually.
All right, so Beijing got the Olympics and Shanghai gets a ciggy. Good deal. Anyway, I'm not too partial to Van Gogh's stuff. I do like Whistleton, though, and I love the colours in Electricity.
I'm with you there. It's a bit of a miracle how the painting still looks fresh today. Those sparks seem to jump out at you, even though it was painted about 2 years before the end of the 19th century.
You know, we could make it to Berlin, even if it were just to see a piece of canvas from 1898 called Electricity. Well, we could go clubbing too.
Hold on a minute. If we're really going to pull our fingers out and genuinely make an effort to see a modern classic, we should fly over to Melbourne to see Roland's Post Office.
Sad story, that. He painted it in 1917 in the war. He died the week after he finished the painting. Still, we could go over there for the Melbourne Cup. I love horse racing.
You're all heart. So we've just about got enough cash to cover next month's rent, and we're on about flying down under. Anyway, it's 1916. Oh, hang about. No, it's 1917. I stand corrected by myself. When he painted it, it was such a different style of painting, such a revolutionary portrayal of everyday life. I suppose it defined a new movement.
Well, that's more than can be said for Pincher. Washington's never really tickled my fancy, and I wouldn't spend a fortune to fly there to see a picture of an old woman stealing a bag of peas from a supermarket. What a load of rubbish. 1986 wasn't a vintage year for art.
That depends. Calling it shoplifter wasn't very imaginative, but in 1986 he did paint one picture every week, including shoplifter. That is amazingly prolific.
What about if a shoplifter walked into the Washington Gallery and stole Shoplifter?
It'd be great publicity.
Yeah, and some sort of justice.
Exercise 2.15. Table filling.
Hi, can you explain the different types of train tickets to me? It's a little bit confusing.
It's not as clear as it might be. We have 5 main ticket types, and the simplest is the standard single. You just turn up, buy the ticket, and go.
Can I book those in advance?
If you'll bear with me, we'll come to that. That standard return ticket is similar to the standard single, except, of course, it's for return journeys. There are 2 conditions. You have to make both trips on the same day, and the second one is that you must travel after 9:45 in the morning.
I see. What if I need to return but have to travel before 9:45?
Then you need 2 singles.
This all sounds like a bit of a minefield.
I know, but if you book in advance, things are better. The Super Advance single gives you a 45% discount if you book a fortnight in advance.
45% off. That's pretty good.
Yes, it used to be only 15%. If you want an even bigger discount, go for an Astra Return, which you have to reserve 4 weeks before your outward journey. It's a 60% discount compared to standard prices, and you can return any day within 6 months of your outward journey.
That's a really good deal. So if I want to book, say, 7 weeks in advance, that would get me an Astra Return.
Yes, as long as you book 28 days or more before your trip.
What's the Roma? Is that something like Interrail?
Yes, it's £247 for a month, and you can use the entire network for that period.
So I can travel anywhere, anytime on the network for a month?
As long as there's a train going. Oh, and it's standard class, not first class.
Exercise 2.16. Table filling.
So let's get started. Just to reiterate, this is just an informal chat about how things are going with French lessons here at the school. From what you've said, there's not much to discuss in terms of the syllabus or equipment, and things are basically going really well.
That's right. I really enjoy teaching here.
That's good news. I notice in some classes you're even ahead of schedule, which is practically unheard of. You've mentioned a few underperforming students, though.
Well, there's only one student with major problems, but I'd like to just flag a few of them and maybe mention something to the parents. A stitch in time saves 9 sort of thing.
OK, who's first?
I'll take them in class order. 2B, Brian Jones. He's a strange sort of guy, not bad at all, and his results put him up there in the top 10% of the class. His reading and listening skills are superb.
So what's the problem with Brian?
He really has trouble paying attention. When we're in the middle of a role play, his mind will just wander and he's in a world of his own. It's not particularly disruptive, it's just that it happens pretty often.
Let's just make a note about concentration levels. If he can't pay attention in other classes too, it could be serious.
Now on to 4C. It's a great class. We're having some really good discussions. However, I think Lydia Robinson is finding things tricky.
Lydia? Is that Robert's sister?
They really look alike. That's Lydia with a Y, so it's Lydia.
OK, so what's up with Lydia?
She's not a bad student really, but she's very bookish. You know, her spelling and grammar are excellent, but she really doesn't understand much when I speak French, and her listening is poor. She just needs to open up more and start communicating.
So she needs to be putting her spelling and grammar to good use?
You could say that. OK, now on to class 5E. Jemima Ragg is doing well in her written work, and her vocabulary is probably the best in class.
Yes, I've taught 5E. Jemima seemed OK.
It's when she opens her mouth that things go wrong. Her pronunciation is just awful. Maybe we could ask her parents to make sure that she does more listening and maybe get a private tutor. I really think that would help her pronunciation.
OK, who's the last one? I think I can guess.
John's son in 6B. No, 6A. I wrote that wrong.
Yes, he switched from 6B to 6A.
Well, he's a real challenge. Don't get me wrong, he has 100% attendance and he really tries hard, so his effort is exemplary. But what lets him down is his basic grammar. He really hasn't grasped it.
So he gives it his all, but he's not going to get any further with his grammar the way it is.
That's about the long and the short of it. Every piece of written work is on time, but it's virtually incomprehensible because of his lack of basic grammar.
Exercise 2.17. Table filling.
The nation-state of Slovenia in southern Europe is bounded on the east by Hungary and Croatia, on the south by Croatia, and on the west by Italy. Its northern immediate neighbour is Austria. Slovenia is a tiny country with a surface area of approximately 20,000 square kilometres, which is about 7,800 square miles. Its capital city is Ljubljana, and the other major city is Maribor. The country has a complex and fascinating history and a rich cultural history. Little known outside the country's borders. The region was settled in the 6th century AD by the Slovenes, from whom the country takes its name. Nowadays, far from being the economic backwater that its relative anonymity suggests, Slovenia is making great strides in terms of development, thanks to targeted investment in technology infrastructure. With its 2 million citizens enjoying some of the highest rates of mobile phone ownership and internet connection access in Central Europe. One of the country's major industries is software development, although 2 more traditional sectors employ more people, textiles and steel. Slovenia is a very young country, having proclaimed independence from Yugoslavia only very recently in June 1991. Almost 13 years later, Slovenia became a member of the European Union on 1st May 2004, along with several other Central and Eastern European states.
Exercise 2.18. Table filling.
Following the passing of the British Library Act by Parliament in 1972, the British Library came into operation with effect from the 1st of July 1973. Subsequently, 2 other major institutions were integrated into the British Library, expanding the depth and breadth of its collections: the India Office Library and Records in 1982 and the British Institute of Recorded Sound in 1983. The British Library has a number of constituent parts. The major sections of the organisation known as the British Library are the Library of the British Museum, Patent Office Library, National Central Library and the British Library Document Supply Centre. The Department of Printed Books of the British Museum was founded in the same year of the foundation of the British Museum in 1753. The library has the privilege of legal deposit, which means that a copy of a large proportion of all printed material in the UK goes to the British Library. These include not only books, journals and magazines, but also newspapers, maps and printed music. The British Museum's domed reading room is well known in intellectual circles and was designed in the 1850s at the instigation of Sir Anthony Panizzi, then Chief Librarian. Originally, the reading room was open to the general public, but due to overcrowding, a pass was required for admission. In addition to Vladimir Lenin, other famous readers in this exclusive place of study included Karl Marx and the writers Charles Dickens, George Bernard Shaw and Virginia Woolf. The British Library Document Supply Centre currently administers a stock of over 260,000 journal titles, over 3 million books, almost 500,000 conference proceedings, and nearly 5 million scientific reports. Its 20,000 customers from all over the world make about 4 million requests every year. Thanks to the Internet, customers can now access information and services online as document supply is achieved via electronic means. The British Library's website is www.bl.uk.
Exercise 2.19. Table filling.
One of the leading scriptwriters, stand-up comedians and filmmakers of his era, Woody Allen was born in Allen Stewart, Königsberg on 1st of December 1935. Born and brought up in Brooklyn in New York, he loved reading comic books and watching movies, and he proved to be a natural writer. At school, he was noted for his extraordinarily high IQ, but school is said to have held little interest for him. When he was 15, he took up the clarinet and became an accomplished player, particularly of jazz music. Allen began selling jokes to newspaper columnists, and in the early 1960s began appearing in comedy clubs, telling his own jokes, and is now known as one of the greatest stand-up comedians ever. In the mid-60s, Allen moved into the world of filmmaking, at first as a writer and actor. What's New, Pussycat came out in 1965. Woody Allen proved himself a prolific writer, and as well as movie script writer, he had 2 hit theatre shows on Broadway. He became a film director in the late 60s and produced some hugely successful film comedies, notably Sleeper, a comedy set in the future, Bananas, a comedy set in a banana republic, and Love and Death, his classic spoof of Tolstoy's War and Peace. In 1977, his film Annie Hall was a huge success and won him praise from audiences and critics alike, and it won 3 Oscars for director, screenplay, and best picture.
Exercise 2.20. Table filling.
Splendor Hotel reception, how can I help?
Hello, I'd like to book a room for tomorrow, please, for 3 days.
That's fine, sir. We have plenty of free rooms. Would you like a single, twin or double room?
A double room, please, and it must be non-smoking.
No problem, sir. All rooms include breakfast here. English, continental or fresh fruit?
Oh, the English breakfast is too greasy for me. Continental, please. Oh, no. Fresh fruit, please.
Very good, sir. Can I take your name?
John Smith. Oh, and can I just check that you have tennis courts?
Indeed, sir. They're just next to the beach volleyball courts.
Not really a beach volleyball fan, but have you got squash courts?
Yes, sir, we have 2.
Excellent. I take it I can hire rackets and stuff.
That's right, sir.
Am I right in thinking you have about 12 table tennis tables too? Aren't they on the top floor with a great view of the sailing ships?
Sadly not, sir. We've got 4 tables in the sports centre on the 5th floor. Naturally, we have bats and balls for hire.
Fabulous. I'm not that bothered about watching sailors having fun.
What time will you be arriving tomorrow, sir?
I think my flight gets in around 3:40 in the afternoon, so I reckon I'll be there at 5:15, as long as the traffic's okay.
You should allow 2 hours, sir. It's the rush hour.
Ah, okay. So 5:40 it is. What time is checkout? I'll be leaving on Wednesday, and the flight's kind of late.
What time is your flight on Wednesday, sir?
Oh, I think it's 6:30 to LA, so I should probably leave the hotel at 3:30, shouldn't I?
You might need to leave earlier, sir. You normally have to check in at the airport 2 hours in advance, and the traffic jams are really dreadful nowadays. I'd recommend leaving here at 2:45.
Okay, I will. Can I get a late checkout?
That's fine, sir. I'll put in a late room checkout at 2:30.
That's wonderful. Can I just check if you got broadband internet connections in the rooms now?
Indeed we do, sir. It's a very quick connection too.
This is all good news. One more thing. I need to hold a meeting on Tuesday afternoon for 12 people. Can I book that now?
Of course, sir. I can book a meeting room for you. It's perfect for 12 people. Will you need a projector or a screen or a whiteboard?
No thanks. It's not that kind of meeting.
Well, the London room is booked for you. Will that be all, sir?
Yes, that's great. I'll see you soon. I have to run to catch my plane.
Have a good flight, Mr. Smith. We'll see you soon.
Great. Bye.